This episode of iFanboy is sponsored by GoDaddy.com. Use coupon code iFanboy to get 10% off all of your purchases. Get your own piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com. And by Netflix. Go to www.netflix.com/iFanboy to get a 2-week free trial. Netflix. Yay, movies.
So how do I get to the Four Freedoms Plaza?
Okay, so you're gonna go down Fifth Avenue and make a left on Yancey Street.
That's in the Lower East Side, isn't it?
Right. And
The thing is, though, if you hit the Sanctum Sanctorum, you've gone too far.
Yes, exactly.
How you couldn't even see that place? How do you know?
You're lost.
Welcome to iFanboy, the video show from the comic book discussion site iFanboy.com. I am Josh, and
I'm Ron.
I'm Connor.
Here with...
Sorry.
He's just so excited to do this show.
I'm very excited about this show.
Recently, Simon & Schuster published a book called The Marvel Comics Guide to New York City. And we got it and started reading it, and
It's one of those books that isn't made for comic fans. Really.
No.
It's kind of like a popular. I saw it in Barnes & Noble, like on the checkout line and stuff like that. But it's really kind of.
I mean, comic fan. It's for everyone.
Yeah,
it's a mainstream book.
Yeah.
But it got us talking about New York City and just geography and comics, superhero books in general, and the differences between DC and Marvel, and how important these cities are to the identities of the heroes and the stories themselves, and basically the differences. And it's a rich topic which we hadn't really thought much about until we saw this book.
And it's a topic that I personally love. I love the idea of geography and the fact, especially, because Marvel Comics is very well known for taking place in real worlds, and DC does kind of a little, but DC's also invented their own kind of geography.
But DC's more of a fictional realm, and Marvel's supposedly more of a realistic realm, and that's really the big main difference. There are real cities in the DC world.
They've folded in the reality of geography.
But more often than not, it's a fictional city.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. So what we thought we'd do is we talk a little bit about some of the cities and then how important they are and what they mean to the characters.
Yeah.
I think probably the most famous city is Metropolis. We'll start with DC with the fake stuff.
Yeah.
Metropolis, Gotham City is the toss up between the two, but we'll start with Metropolis.
Yeah, because that was the first one.
Yeah.
And then the lore behind it is that Metropolis is supposed to be, it's representative like New York City during the daytime.
That's the famous Denny O'Neil quote,
Yeah.
which says Metropolis and Gotham are both basically New York, and Metropolis is the daytime New York, and Gotham is the nighttime New York. And this is probably back early 70s, 80s, when New York at night was really freaking scary, like Gotham City is. So that's more. But Josh is correct. It's the shining city,
the biggest city in the country. It's kind of where the big city, the big lights, and where everything happens. So of course it's the home of Superman, the biggest hero in the DC pantheon, and
it's got big, modern, shiny buildings.
A lot built by Luthor.
Yes, LexCorp.
For your Smallville fans out there.
And isn't that his company in the real DC?
It's Luthor Corp.
Yeah.
Corp because it's corporation.
Corp, yeah, right.
Luthor Corp in the comics, and LexCorp in the Smallville.
It's funny.
And it was Luthor Corp in the Smallville as well, but then they split. And
his dad was Luthor Corp.
I can't really think of a place in New York where that is what I picture anymore. Because I kind of picture the animated city from. The city from the animated series, a little bit.
Well, what's happened is that they took it. They call it the City of Tomorrow now, and they took it. I think, and we're going to be wrong, and we'll get the emails, but probably around the animated series time, they advanced Metropolis forward. It's got future tech. It got all this
very nice.
Yeah, everything is futuristic, more than any other city in the DCU. Yeah. So it doesn't look like. I mean, there are sections of like Midtown and sort of the Fifth Avenue area where also all the high glass buildings. That kind of looks Metropolis.
And a lot of the new builds in New York City as well are getting. I mean, as technology evolves, it's easier to move the city's technology in comics because they just draw the page.
Right.
Whereas in the reality,
but Josh is correct in that Metropolis is very very futuristic. So you get like the monorails and
I always think Metropolis is very big.
Yeah,
it's like a big city.
And basically, what to me it is. It works in a Superman book because it is the contrast of what Smallville was.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. Everything is new, everything is shiny, as opposed to Smallville, which was rustic
rural,
and brown and green, and that really shows that Superman is an alien among all of this world.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why these are important, because the cities act as characters, or they act as a backdrop, a backdrop of course, but almost a way to help form those characters a little bit better.
So, and no better city forms a character than Gotham City with Batman.
it's the ugly flip side of the coin. Batman is somewhat of the ugly flip side of the coin of Superman, and Gotham is the
darkness aspect of it. I think you correct me if I'm wrong, you're the Batman historian, but I always got to feel that Gotham in the early years of DC was kind of dark and dirty and all that kind of stuff, but then with the animated series again, it kind of, and also with Tim Burton and stuff like that, they moved into more of a gothic.
Yeah, it's more Art Deco-ish.
Yeah, Art Deco, and like a city that was the city of tomorrow in the 30s, and it's kind of decayed over the years, and that sort of thing.
I feel like it's gotten recent years. It's gone more back to being more like Hell's Kitchen is in Daredevil, which we'll get to. I don't feel it has that Art Deco feel anymore.
Well, because they had the cataclysm and they had the earthquake and it wiped the city out, so they were able to rebuild it however they wanted and redesign it how they wanted. So it's.
I think when comparing it to New York, I think of Hell's Kitchen or like the Lower East Side or like kind of like we're not there are skyscrapers in the distance, but then there are more kind of the 4 or 5 story buildings and alleyways and stuff like that. So
and like I don't think there's any city that's more important to a character than Gotham is to me.
I mean, Gotham is a character in the book.
My city, he says over and over again, and like he loves it for some reason that I can't, because there seems to be nothing good in Gotham.
Well, it's his city. Well, that's why he loves it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a strong pride of a city, you know what I mean. Like I mean, I could definitely relate to that. I definitely understand why he's going to protect his city and look out for his own.
Because of the people that are sort of caught up.
There's also
when he's not on the satellite protecting the universe with the Justice League. That's always the conflict there.
And if you take that aside, Gotham's a character in that. They've done a lot of stories relating to why do all these crazy psychotic people come out of Gotham, and there must be a reason behind that. I mean, they've never said what the reason is, but they've explored it.
Nice.
They haven't given you a reason, but they've explored why. And he said, why does this keep happening here? What is it about Gotham that breeds these crazies?
Right.
And it's more than any other city, I think, in probably all of comics.
Gotham's also the one I know more of its streets and buildings, and like they're all named after old Batman or creators and things like that, and this Arkham Asylum is a huge part of it, and the buildings there, which I can't think of right now. But, books like Gotham Central really helped with that.
To the identity of the city.
The last 10 years of Batman have really
centered around between the Cataclysm and all that stuff. So, but those Metropolis.
Those are the two biggies in DC.
Yeah, those are the two big ones, but they're not the only other ones. And actually, some of my favorites in the DC are the lesser-known cities. Probably two of my favorite cities, or from the Flash lore, Keystone City and Central City, which are actually like the Twin Cities.
Yeah, like Minneapolis.
Because
or Lewiston, Auburn, in Maine.
Or that. And the home of the Flash. And what happened was that I believe Jay Garrick was from Keystone City and Barry Allen was from Central City. And then when in the merging of the Golden Age and the Silver Age, they became one city, became the Twin City. They got bridges and stuff like that. And now Wally West lives in Keystone and is the protector of Keystone. That's where the Flash Museum is. And I think it's supposed to be in the Midwest.
It is.
Right? It's like
Keystone is the blue collar working
It's the steel belt kind of city.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that Central City is not really.
It's kind of in the shadow.
I mean, I like Keystone. It's got an identity. It's got a whole. Jeff Johns did a whole lot to bring out and feel the blue collar working man. They're all sort of steel workers. And
Jeff Johns added like teams, like sports teams, like the baseball, like the hockey team, and the baseball team.
What's sad is that at the expense of Central City is such a DC city. It's one of the original Barry Allen. It's been around since the '60s, and you never ever hear about it anymore, which is kind of sad. But Keystone's a great city.
Well, what Jeff Johns did in his run, though, is really center the Flash in that city. He sort of took a note from Batman, basically. He said, this is where he is, this is why he's doing it, he's protecting this area, and this is how it's different than those other places, which is great. In much the same way as Coast City is now Green Lantern's.
That might be currently the city that's most important to the DCU right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was central to the Sinestro War in 2007.
Yeah.
And it's really. I feel like they're really trying to build it up.
Right.
And they did a great job of doing that.
And I don't remember what historically it was, but Coast City was where Green Lantern, Hal Jordan resided, and it was the victim of the 90s kind of breakdown. It was the Mongol Eradicator.
Destroyed it,
Mongol destroyed it, And that the destruction of Coast City is what led Hal Jordan to become Parallax and
go insane, kill the Green Lantern Corps.
And lead to Kyle Rayner, etc. And then just recently we had kind of the resurrection of the city, and now it's the city without fear. that's their name.
Which I think Marvel could be upset about.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, no, because Green Lanterns are always the guy. Green Lanterns have always been without fear, so that's always been there.
So Coast City's supposed to be in California?
Yeah, it's on the coast.
Well, yeah, but they're two coasts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Florida.
No, it's on the West Coast.
Yeah, so it's
But
West
where, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm guessing California.
Probably look good.
Yeah, I love that DC has these cities, and you kind of speculate about where they are. I mean, I know we've talked about it for years.
Well, it's funny because depending on what you're watching, like on Smallville, Metropolis is in Kansas.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's always on the coast. It's supposed to be a stand-in for New York, but in that show it's
like Chicago.
quite close to Smallville.
Yeah, you can see it from
episode.
that episode of Smallville pissed me off when him and Lana climbed up to the water tower, and then the camera turns and you just see like Metropolis in the distance, and it's like 5 miles away. It's like it wasn't even like way off. I understand TV and everything, and I actually wrote Mark Verheiden an email, but he never wrote back to me. I don't know why. I was like,
I could pause it again.
but anyway, no.
Where's Gotham? No one really knows.
Right.
DC put it out an Atlas a few years ago.
like
Said
the
it was
80s,
in,
right?
Yeah, or 90s, early 90s.
For some reason, I remember that Gotham was supposed to be like in New Jersey, and Metropolis was supposed to be like where Baltimore is. They were all both on the coast.
Yeah. And then you throw in New York, and you've got Bloodhaven and other places like that. And it's just
Bloodhaven's just down the road from Gotham.
Yeah, so it's all very nebulous. You never really know. They don't ever. There's not a map that says here's where
Still, because it's not like when you say real city, then all of a sudden there's people who have actual connections with that. These, they can create them just like characters. They have everything they can do with them and build them into what they want.
Right.
The last DC city I want to talk about really quickly, as I wanted to mention Opal City, which is the main. It's like after Jack Knight in the Starman series from James Robinson. Opal City is an Art Deco city, and it was founded by the French, and that has all to do with its character and the Starman back. And then when you read those stories, Opal City is integral to the story. You can't do that story without Opal City. Yeah. And Tony Harris specifically created this beautiful city that has a look, and it exists and it breathes. And that was one of the best things about that book.
Yeah. What's the Green Arrow city? Is it Star City?
Star
City, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the mayor for God's sake.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I just didn't. No, he's not. The whole power.
Okay.
So, but also DC, like we said earlier, DC started to fold in real world places, and they folded in New York City.
The Teen Titans, that was their
Teen
base.
Titans, and Kyle Rayner lived in New York City, lived in Greenwich Village, and stuff like that.
For a while too.
Yeah, but that was kind of
traveling man.
That was kind of stealing a page from Marvel's book, and as we mentioned earlier, what made Marvel different than DC in the '60s was that Marvel Comics took place in our world in Manhattan, but mainly. Yeah. And over the years, they've expanded to other Great Lakes Avengers, West Coast Avengers.
But mainly, I mean, we were talking about this before. Can you think of like a single major book that doesn't take place in New York City? I mean, there are some, but I mean, the X-Men are all over the map.
Runaways was LA.
But now they're in New York.
But now they're back in New York. Yeah.
I mean, like X-Men are all over the world.
No, X-Men is New York. I mean, X-Men they're in Westchester, but it's New York.
But they travel, so I mean, like,
but
for the most part,
there's no like Arizona-based, or Chicago.
The majority of the Marvel books take place in Manhattan, which is
it was a couple of strange. I mean, there's like Genosha.
Well, yeah, they made up other countries and stuff like that, Madripoor and stuff like that. But they've stuck to the New York geography, and even within New York, they've stuck within the specific neighborhood geography. Yeah. The X-Men hung out in Greenwich Village. Doctor Strange was in Greenwich Village. Daredevil looked over Hell's Kitchen, stuff like that. So I mean, New York is really, you can actually go to New York and see these places.
What's interesting about this book, we were reading through it and we're laughing because there's different, if you don't know New York, there's 5 boroughs. There's Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. It's not just Manhattan. And for the most part, there's been some sort of connection to every part of the city except for Staten Island.
Well, there's one connection to Staten Island.
There's only one connection to Staten Island in all of this whole book.
And the Vulture's from Staten Island. And
that's it.
He retired to Staten Island, then he made his flying harness, then flew back into Manhattan and fought Spider-Man. No major battle has ever taken place in Staten Island. Staten Island is the safest spot in New York City in the Marvel Universe.
Even there's a
just didn't want to have to make the commute, so it's like I need
that ferry and that
there's a Staten Island ferry that runs from Manhattan to Staten Island, and they said the most it's ever gotten is the Staten Island ferry blew up in a battle once. It didn't actually make it to Staten Island.
Yeah.
Halfway to Staten Island.
Captain America and Spider-Man. But so anyway, so you can really go to these places, and actually, we did. We're lucky enough to be here in New York. And
not all of them.
Not all of them, but we kind of picked out some of our favorite spots, and we got in the car and we headed out there. So why don't you see what adventures we
just go in.
here across the water from the Brooklyn Bridge.
There it is.
There it is.
What happened there?
The Brooklyn Bridge is the site of one of the best Marvel stories ever, one of the most tragic Marvel deaths, when Spider-Man's girlfriend Gwen Stacy was thrown off the bridge by the Green Goblin.
Now, did that actually still happen?
Well, yes, it did. Yeah, it did. But interestingly enough, writer Jerry Conway wrote the George Washington Bridge, but Gil Kane drew the Brooklyn Bridge, thus sparking a large debate for years over which bridge she was thrown off of.
So that's not the George Washington Bridge?
No, it's the Brooklyn Bridge.
My commute's been all messed up.
So we're going to be reenacting the death of Gwen Stacy, and as the only blonde of iFanboy, we're going to throw you off the bridge.
We're standing here with the Staten Island Ferry behind us, notable in the Marvel Universe.
Well, first of all, what it does is the ferry goes from Manhattan to Staten Island. It's a big commuter ferry, and the interesting thing about the Staten Island Ferry is there's only been 2 appearances in the Marvel Universe as far as we can tell.
Was one of those Captain America and Spider-Man blowing it up in December of 1976 in Marvel Team Up Volume 1, number 52?
I believe it was. Also,
Top of my head.
Peter Parker had a date on there. But the most interesting thing about Staten Island, which is where you would go on the ferry, is that it's the safest place in the Marvel Universe because there's never been a serious incident, fight there. Nothing's actually ever happened there. The only thing notable about it is that Adrian Toomes is from there, and he is, of course, the Vulture.
He's not really all that threatening, though, is there?
No, he's like 75 years old. He flies on the wings.
Slow it down.
We're here on the Lower East Side of Manhattan on the corner of Christie Street and Delancey Street, and fans of the Fantastic Four might want to take notice because Delancey Street is actually the inspiration for Yancey Street, which is the home of the Yancey Street Gang, the street toughs who used to terrorize the Thing for over 40 years now.
This was the neighborhood, the Lower East Side, where Jack Kirby grew up. He was. This was a big Eastern European Jewish community where a lot of the old creators came from, and he was a member of the Suffolk Street Gang. He was a street tough himself, so that's where the whole inspiration for the Yancey Street Gang came from. Like the Dead End Kids in those old Cagney movies, that was the kind of gang it was.
Jack Kirby, as a member of that gang, got into a lot of fights, if I heard the stories correctly. If I remember correctly. Back in the days of my run-ins with the gang.
Were you in the Bowery Boys?
I was in the Bowery Boys.
Oh, nice.
I don't see anything weird happening at all there.
There are no astral projections or anything.
It's a very normal-looking building.
It really is, and it shouldn't be because we're here at 177A Bleecker Street, which is the home of...
It's Doctor Strange. It's the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Dr. Stephen Strange here in Greenwich Village with a home of the mystic arts.
Or a Pinkberry. That also, you can get frozen yogurt and fresh fruit at a premium price.
Interestingly enough, 177 Bleecker Street is an apartment building, and it's where writer Roy Thomas, who wrote a ton of Marvel books and was writing Doctor Strange in the late 60s, early 70s, and gave Doctor Strange his own address.
That is crazy.
That's where he lived, at 177A.
Can you imagine Bendis putting his actual address?
No, I can't.
That's just not right.
Yeah, so the inspiration for Doctor Strange's Greenwich Village Sanctum Sanctorum is an apartment building here, and now you can't really afford it. So.
No, and he'd have to have bought several of the apartments.
Yeah, exactly.
Or use his mystic power to turn a one-bedroom railroad into
a Sanctum Sanctorum.
Exactly. Let's go find Wong.
Okay.
This is the heart of Greenwich Village, and of course, NYU.
ESU.
Empire State University.
In the Marvel Universe, the fictional college of Empire State University, if you need to go to college, you either go to Columbia or you come to ESU. And in fact, like half of the Marvel Universe went to ESU.
Such characters as?
Well, Emma Frost from the X-Men, the Black Cat, the Rocket Racer, Richard Rider, Nova, Marvel Boy, Vance Astrovic, or Justice as he's called now, Norman Osborn, Gwen Stacy's cousin, Jill.
Did she ever show up in any books?
I don't know. I never heard of Jill before.
Okay.
But actually, Mary Jane and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Peter Parker.
Did he ever actually graduate?
He must have graduated, but he actually lived with Captain Britain. They roomed together over in Goddard.
Well,
yeah, who knew?
The Excalibur Spider-Man crossover that
it
never
was awesome.
really
The Marvel team up. It was fantastic. So, but yeah, we're here in Washington Square Park, which is like the center point of NYU or ESU, and it's also a great place to score a dime bag.
You holding?
No.
Slow it down.
So this is the famous Flatiron Building. You may know it better as the Daily Bugle.
No, that's actually the movie Daily Bugle.
So it's not from the
No.
not the same in the.
No, it's not.
I should read those books.
Yeah.
Okay, so we figured it out.
Yeah. So this is it. This is the Daily News Building on 42nd Street in Midtown Manhattan.
It's also the Daily Bugle.
This is where they do Daily Bugle building in the comics, and also in the movie Superman. This is the Daily Planet.
It's the
Right, 'cause that
central
would be
daily
where
hub.
this would be where the helicopter fell from the thing, and
Yeah.
oh, who's
Yeah.
got you?
Yeah, I don't have you.
It's so true.
Oh, so many people driving oh so very slow.
The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, are funded by Tony Stark, who was kind of well-to-do.
And a rich guy.
Yeah, so naturally Avengers Mansion would be here on the Upper East Side.
Where the money is.
Exactly.
Well, it's everywhere, but it's really here.
So Avengers Mansion right behind us was modeled after the Frick Museum.
Which is actually what is behind us, not the
It
actual
is.
Avengers Mansion. The Frick Museum was an old mansion that was converted to a museum, and that's now the basis for the look of the Avengers Mansion, and that's behind us.
And so if you go back and look in your Avengers comics, it looks eerily a lot like that
yeah.
building. And if you go and ring the doorbell, Jarvis doesn't answer.
No, they don't really like you to ask.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Slow it down.
We've got a little something for the X-Men fan.
Yeah, X-Men are historically known for their headquarters being up in Westchester County, but here in Manhattan on 67th and 5th is the location of the Hellfire Club.
This was the big place from the Dark Phoenix saga.
The Dark Phoenix Saga did kick off here. This is where, when fighting the Hellfire Club, the Black King and the White Queen and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, Wolverine all heavy and he fell.
Yeah,
And
and
then he did that cool stuff
in the subway. Yeah, exactly. And this is actually where Jean Grey manifested into the Dark Phoenix for the first time, and then the fight spilled out over into Central Park, which is right across the street.
So this
And
is now the Serbian embassy.
Yes, it is.
And I have yet to see anybody come out in late 18th century clothing.
no
or any
real
sort
no powdered wigs or
of-
anything.
I didn't wear my leather thong and bodice.
Oh, I did.
Something happened in Central Park, right?
Yeah, actually, so Jean Grey turns into the Dark Phoenix, and the fight spills out over here, and the Beast, who is down the road at the Avengers Mansion, comes down and joins the fray, and the whole Dark Phoenix fight happened right here in Central Park.
Now, literally, the Avengers Mansion is.
3 blocks that way.
Do you think maybe they would have run some interference?
No, nothing. No,
I don't think these guys have their shit together.
I don't think they do either. We're standing in the neighborhood, according to book, that's called Hell's Kitchen, but if you ask the city of New York, we're in Clinton.
That's because the Hell's Kitchen area was one of those revitalized neighborhoods back in the 90s.
Yep.
Hell's Kitchen is apparently too derogatory sounding, so they changed it into Clinton, and all the yuppies came flocking, so now it's nice.
But this neighborhood was made famous by Frank Miller in the 80s with Daredevil.
It's one of the seminal Marvel Universe neighborhoods. This
yeah.
is where Daredevil rules the streets, and if you go and read the Marvel comics, you come here to New York, you may be surprised to find it's not as gritty as it is in the comic book.
It's actually quite nice. There's some great restaurants over there on 9th and a great little Thai place over
and
there.
Frank Miller lived in this neighborhood. He had a studio here, and he'd go to the rooftops, and he would sketch, and he would take pictures, and he would get a feel for the neighborhood. Then back in the 80s, early 90s, it was a dangerous thing to do for anybody.
And more recently, Alex Maleev on the run with Brian Michael Bendis on Daredevil, he actually came to this neighborhood, took pictures, and really tried to make the geography look very realistic, just minus the yuppiness.
Right. So if you read those comics, and it's still basically the Hell's Kitchen of the 80s, the Westies, all that stuff. That's basically they bubbled that in the Marvel. But now it's a nice place to come. So if
It's good.
you know.
It's one of my favorite neighborhoods in New York, but I do like it's got a lower profile, and you can almost see Daredevil running from rooftop to rooftop. So.
Do you work for the Chamber of Commerce?
I do, actually. And I've got a wonderful little neighborhood.
Well, that was fun. That was a good time.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, we're a little bit biased because we're from, Alex, Connor and I are born and raised in New York. Josh is he's a transplant from New York.
He's born on Long Island.
Oh yeah, you were. I forgot about that. So we all kind of New York has a strong place in our heart. It was fun to see those places, and actually, it's something that I never even thought of until we heard about this book, which is just genius. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool is they've got the addresses, so you can go and find the Sanctum Sanctorum if you want.
And it's funny to see the history and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Get off my lawn.
So we thought before we go, we'd have a little fun, a little game show, a little mini game show. We're going to do a DC geography game show. So, gentlemen, will you please take your materials?
What do we win?
Everything in my pockets.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't want that.
I've got a hole cut in this pocket. Why does it always go weird?
I don't know.
All right, so I've got 5 cities here. No, I'm sorry, six DC cities.
Card.
Okay. You saw it?
Well,
That's all right.
I don't know the answer.
You ruined Christmas.
Okay.
All right, I've got 6 DC cities here. I'm going to name the city, and you're going to have to write the name of the hero, the primary hero associated with that city.
Okay.
And then I'll ask you to turn the card over to the camera, and we'll see who's correct, and we'll keep a little tally here.
Richards.
Okay, the first city, Fawcett City. Fawcett City.
Don't look at mine.
All right, please turn the card over. Now, Oh, Ron says Hawkman, and Josh says Captain Marvel. The correct answer is Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So that is 1 point for Josh.
The Big Red Cheese.
Big Red Cheese, Fawcett City. All right.
All right.
The next city.
That's right, because Fawcett Comics.
Yep. The next city we mentioned earlier in the show, Bloodhaven.
Now we see how bad my handwriting is.
Okay. Please show the audience your answers. Nightwing, you both say Nightwing, you're both correct. So that's 2 points for Josh and 1 point for Ron.
I wrote Dick.
You just wanted an excuse to write Dick.
That's his name.
The third city is Gateway City. Gateway City. This one is a little tough because this is calling back a couple years.
Pass.
Can we get a hint?
No, if I give you a hint, you'll get it. So just guess Gateway City.
Gateway, what does that mean? It's got to mean something.
Gateway City.
I'm a Marvel guy.
Well, this is why it's fun. Why? Don't look at his card. He's not correct, so don't worry. I've never even heard of that person.
Oh, okay.
This is the first two are the easy ones. They're getting the tough ones. Ron says Blue Beetle. Josh says the Bullet.
I don't know who that is.
The Bulleteer?
There was a character somewhere in the Golden Age, I think.
The correct answer is Wonder Woman. Gateway City Wonder Woman.
Really?
She's been in lots of cities, to be fair, but that was the primary one she was associated with a while back.
Okay.
Whatever.
The third one, Hub City.
These aren't real.
No, that's the point. Hub City.
Give me a hint.
This is kind of a pulpish character. Noirish. Please show your answers to the audience. The question mark and fixage both are the question that is correct.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So 3 points for Josh, 2 points for Ron.
The question.
2 cities left.
Okay. This is hard.
One.
It is.
The last one's really easy, so this is your chance to catch up.
Okay.
Superman.
The second last city, Saint Roch, or Roche. S-T-R-O-C-H. This is recent. This is some recent comics. The last 3 or 4 years. There's two heroes. They're related, and they are in Saint Roch. Jeff Johns wrote this book. It's a male and female version of the same character.
Which means that this is wrong.
This is exciting television. Ron, we need your guess.
I got nothing.
Just guess.
I got nothing.
You're passing.
Yeah, I'm passing.
So we have a pass, and we've got Hawkman, and Hawkman is correct.
Fuck. I hate this game.
That's 4 points for Josh.
Girls from St. Roch?
Saint Roch, Hawkman and Hawk
Okay.
Girl. Jeff Johns wrote the book. It was quite good.
Yeah. No.
I dropped it anyway.
Anyway.
I had to cut the fat. The final answer or question, Star City.
Oh,
From earlier in the show.
Sorry.
I'm going to go ahead and mark you down for a point each.
thank you. I didn't know.
Speedy.
Green Arrow is correct for both of you. So that the final tally is 5 points for Josh, 5 out of 6, 3 out of 6 for Ron. Not too bad, Ron. Not too bad at all. Josh, you have whatever's in my pockets.
We'll be back for later.
I've got a mic in my pocket.
So anyway, so that was
Those are fun little
Geography and
show.
Comics, Marvel and DC. It's wonderful. Go look on Google Maps, find out where your favorite hero is from.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice little.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I had no clever clothing for them. I just lost. I ran out of steam.
Where were
All right.
right?
I thought we were done. All right, so if we're wrong about a city that a hero lives in, or there's a city that we didn't talk about, you can email us at contact@ifanboy.com and let us know.
Yep, or you can call the voicemail line at 1-888-FANBOYS, which is 326-2697. You can talk to us about your city. Maybe you've got a hero we didn't know about in your city.
Yeah, let us know.
You can go to ifanboy.com where there will be a post about this show where you can comment on any of this stuff on the board or any of the other stuff we have on there, including our audio show, or you can go to revision3.com/ifanboy and go to the forums from there. All sorts of talkings and other stuff.
I'm moving to Grey Melkin Lane.
Grey Melkin Lane?
Grey Melkin Lane.
Westchester?
Yeah.
Grey Melkin Lane.
Salem Center. It's actually not that far.
I better hope you get some flight.
Bloomberg lives there. Bloomberg lives there, ironically.
He doesn't work in
live
San
there.
Francisco. He doesn't work in San Francisco, though.
Well, there.
Good point.
Yeah.
He really ran. He really took off. I didn't know he was going to do that. It's cold!
All right. Spider-Man thought he could save his girlfriend Gwen Stacy from the Green Goblin's ravages, but she snapped her neck instead.
Ravages.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm feeling very...
Fans of the Fantastic Four might want to take note of this because Delancey Street is the inspiration for Yancey Street, which is the home.
I said go, and I ruined the whole go.
We're here on. Fuck, again.
And this was the area, the neighborhood that Jack Kirby grew up in. He was on Suffolk Street, which is around here somewhere, and I'm sure.
Okay, 3.
We are standing here in the heart of Grammar Tree.
Fuck.
Okay, we got it now.
Now this is the actual Daily Bugle building, which is actually in reality the Daily News building in New York. You may recognize it also in the Superman movie. It was the Daily Bugle, no, the Daily Planet. Too many dailies.
The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, are funded by Tony Stark. And for many, many years, their headquarters were here on the Upper East Side, where the other rich people live, at Avengers Mansion.
Which you can't see because there's 4 buses.
And we're actually right across the street from Central Park as well. So I didn't know he was going to do that. Who was pretty well-to-do. So naturally, Avengers Mansion. Should I wait for that?
Yeah.
And this is where the Dark Phoenix saga kicked off.
I don't know where I'm going. Here's a little something for the X-Men fan.
The X-Men are. Do it again. Yeah, the X-Men are historically known as their headquarters being up in Westchester County, New York, but here in Manhattan, on the corner of.
Right down there.
Right below us, and then I don't know.
And now it's the Serbian embassy.
We're standing in the part of New York that the book refers to as Hell's Kitchen, but if you're referring, let's shoot in the field. It'll be fun.